Hello there. This is a continuation of the Strife and Grimbone walkthrough, creating a Foundry VTT module for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. And we're getting to the climax of the adventure now, the final dungeon. We had described entering the final tower and a spiral staircase leading down underground. So after the entrance to the underground chambers and the staircase down, the next area is going to be the bottom of the staircase, and for that we're going to need another scene. To save time, I'd created the scene already. It's the underground chambers. And perhaps I'll talk about this as I go through. But I've done the tiles, some drawings, such as little myrtle holes there, all the walls and doors and windows. These are arrow slits, lighting and the usual sounds. So the adventurers come down here. I create the stairs up by having a tile, no, not a tile, a journal note. Like so. That links to a custom image, but just a label and not affiliated with any journal page. So we call this passage choices. We have a message for the GM. Activate the underground chambers, which we've just done, and indicating that the next several encounters will all be using this scene. Probably should have a line at the top as well, so that I take the block quote formatting out of the line. At the foot of the stairs is an unlit passage, 5 foot wide and 10 foot high. The walls, ceiling and floor are made of smooth blocks, pitted with age. There is a narrow crack in the earth splitting the passage. The floor beyond the crack is level, unlike the sloping spiral stair you just descended. On the other side, the passage continues but is blocked to the ceiling with piles of masonry. However, there are branches to east and west that appear clear. The stair continues further downward, but is choked with fallen masonry just a few steps down. There's no way down there, but you can continue the spiral staircase later on. By getting into it by some other means. So there's nothing special about the crack, but let's put a bit more text in. So a bit of background. The passages and chambers were once the ground level of a solidly constructed building, but the land upheavals and floods mean it has been buried underground for millennia, only its tallest tower remaining above the surface. Nemo, he's the antagonist, found the area was structurally sound and set it up as a base of operations near Grimbone, and most importantly just above the ancient mines. Exploring the area, it would take hours to clear the rubble from the lower stairway or the middle passage. This staircase can be accessed lower down only from the lower chambers. If checking for tracks on a DC-15 survival, it will be clear that the west path is much less travelled with muddy beastfolk prints than the east path. Yep. Put this down a bit. And this can fit up here. There is a trap on the west, on the least travelled path, constructed by the paranoid Nemo. There are two tiny parallel grooves in the 10-foot high ceiling running from the south edge of the north-south passage section northwards. Scything blades are hidden within the grooves, hinged at their northern ends. A tripwire across the passage at X, well we don't need it, at X, releases them, dealing 2 attacks at plus 17, 2d12 plus 4 slashing damage, deadly d12 on a crit, to the creature who set off the tripwire. Right, so I have a tripwire groove here, but we go into the drawing one, but there were 2, weren't there, so we'll duplicate that. So one there. One there. So the PCs may see these faint grooves, so I set them as drawing objects, 10 feet high. I just set the lines to 0 opacity, so there's no line, and the narrow fill is rather opaque, or non-opaque I should say, so they're just faintly visible. And then here, hidden though, is the tripwire, so I've set this as actually hidden to the players, so when if they find it, make it visible. Start off invisible. Right, we need to set up a hazard, don't we? It's probably similar to the swinging glaive, so we'll duplicate that one. And it's only level 4. Simple mechanical trap, there's no illusion. Stealth DC. $23. I'd have to check this doesn't become 33. And the description. do go with it. Disable thievery. 21. And we got a fortitude save plus 12 in case people just want to destroy something while they're in the grooves. And 44 hit points, and as usual, that's going to equate to breaking it at 22 hit points. And it's plus 17. Two D12 plus 4. I don't think I'm going to be able to do the deadly, the deadly on a crit. If there was a sort of critical category, I could do that, but I'll have a look on additional damage, additional attack effects. No. I suppose if we want to be thorough, I mean, I'm not sure we do, but if we want to be thorough, I could add it as an action. Let's see if we can do that. So there are going to be 2 strikes of those. Okay, pretty similar to that one before. Play the swinging glaive trap macro for the swinging sound. You know, why do we add that in? Let's do that. So it'll be the same sound but in a new area. We'll go to the relevant area, which is the culture scripts lower. Maybe it was a stored sound rather than an ambient sound. Let's have a look at the. So we've got swinging glaive trap. Yeah, so it's a stored sound rather than a placed sound. So it should work. And really the description is similar enough. Shall we make the tripwire visible? Actually, it might be hard because it's a drawing object. I'll just check how that works. So yes, I have an adapted macro here. I changed the tiles on a previous macro to drawings. So instead of canvas tiles is drawings is the object group to use, and simply make it from, if it's hidden, make it unhidden, have the sound play a message to the PCs, and then if I click again, it makes it hidden again, makes the tripwire hidden again, and then instead of update embedded documents tile is update embedded documents drawing to indicate that it's the drawing layer that needs to be updated. So I changed the macro in here. We have the only faintly visible tripwire to the GM. The players wouldn't see that at all. And if we click it, we get the sound effect, and that becomes visible to the players. We click it again and it resets. And you can see I've tested it a few times, but that's the message that comes down. So we've got a nice macro for that, and now we know how to make drawing objects visible and invisible, as well as tiles and sounds and lights. So I think the side blades are done. And we can get rid of that. We can get rid of that because it's in our hazard text. Add the hazard to here. And add it to there as well. Ooh. Need to change the token. And the appearance to make it smaller. And we've got the scythe blade trap set to invisible for the players, but vaguely visible for the GM, although it's not a complex hazard, so we don't need to put it in initiative, but it's still a nice visual indicator for the GM. And remember, there's something I wanted to change on it actually, on the disable. So I've done a more specific system for disabling the trap, either preventing the tripwire from activating, making a note that any damage to the tripwire is equivalent to setting it off, so don't damage it while you're in that square, and damage to the mechanism if the PCs can reach the ceiling grooves, or something thin that could get up through the grooves like a spearhead would also be able to disable the mechanism if it did the break threshold level of damage, given the hardness as well. So the next area is called the shooting range. You enter a 15-foot wide and 15-foot high unlit passage of the same construction as the passages you just left. The passage extends south, and depending on the PC's vision, as far as you can see, 40 feet to a closed metal door at the far end. Nemo has set up a guard post here, and the Boar men, Boar folk, guards in area K11 are actually alert. That's this area here, which I may change in a moment. Unlike those in the chamber above, which is that chamber there. There is nowhere to hide in the bare passage, so unless the PCs are invisible, they will be seen through the arrow slits as soon as they enter the chamber. Roll for initiative at this point, and the Boar folk will start firing their crossbows. They have greater cover for ranged attacks, +4 armor class, and cannot be attacked by melee through the little holes there. You can see them there. Their arc of fire is such that they can hit the square directly in front. I think we just see what they can see. The arrow slits are funneled so PCs don't get the +4 armor class bonus if they are on the west side. A PC pressing themselves against the east wall between the arrow slits cannot be reached by the poor folk. So if a PC crouches down, it can get all the way there if they're specifically avoiding going past the arrow slits. Murder holes. There are 2 murder holes in the ceiling, but the boremen in Poor Folk in K12 who should be pouring down the burning oil are all asleep on duty. These are spotted on a DC 10 perception roll. Make the murder hole drawing objects visible by right-clicking on them. So go into the drawing, tools, visible, invisible again. You can see they correspond to the holes there in the chamber above. That stairway is the same as that stairway continuing west, and so this chamber is directly above that one. The metal door exit. But nice headings now. Okay, the metal door at the south end is locked. It's a poor lock, which means 2 successful DC 15 thievery checks. Capital C. Oh, wrong type of racket. That's it. And otherwise has force open DC 30. Hardness 18, HP 72, 36 to break. So we need to put the Boar Folk warriors there. Gonna put them in there. Right, so we use Orc Warrior as our base. Orc Scrapper is level 1. Could use that one. Not that one. Yeah, just use this one. Oh, and that's the creature note. We know creature 1. Orc veteran. And we have a picture. Well, first of all we need to import it. Put it in creatures. There we are. And there we are. Right, what are they wielding? A fist. Well, let's dispense with that. A neck splitter. No, we don't even want javelins. We want crossbows. Heavy crossbow. Make an attack out of that. And they have short swords. Do it like that. +9 +4 -1. Seems fair. The short sword. That seems fair, just the standard abilities there. They've got ferocity, reactive strike. Fair enough. And surprise some PCs. And I think that's enough for them there. And we'll put them on the map as well. Oh, there were 7 of them. So the PC should be about 4th level by now, minus 1st level. I think PCs maybe 4th to 5th level, maybe we'll make just 6 of them. and they all start off hidden. Just seeing what they can see. Let's choose a player. So they can see through there. Put the player there and reset the fog of war. Yeah, so it's best to do is see what they can see. So fairly narrow field of view, but you may say that they can see when they're there, probably not there. Simplest way to do it. But we don't want you there, Mauricio. If they're fumbling at the door, a bit like that. So when they get past the first one, they think they're safe. But if they're fumbling at the door, this one can be shooting many times. Okay, so I think that's that room done. Main passage. You enter a 10-foot wide and 15 feet high passage running east-west, cleared of rubble and litter, and lit by burning sconces on the walls. There is an air of order here, as if the ancient ruins have recently been repurposed. To the east, the passage is blocked by tons of rubble. Before this point, there are two exits to the north. One a recent, roughly mortared tunnel, the other a stairway going up that is of the same ancient architecture as the rest of these chambers. To the west, there is a wide doorway to the north, before the passage turns south. If there are no more PCs in Area K9, the Boerfolk crossbowmen from Area K11 will move south to face whomever has breached the metal door. Visit that lock, shall we? And then we have the shooting gallery. This area here. This blind passage is obviously of recent and vastly inferior construction, but it serves its purpose in providing numerous positions from which to spy on and shoot at those in the wide entrance passage. Most likely the Boer folk stationed here will have already engaged the BCs. Their stats are listed in Area K9. Well, we know their stats. When I ran this adventure before, there was a druid in the party who turned himself into a little rat and jumped in through the arrow slit and then converted back to druid form and took them on in melee. Lightning bolt would be quite handy there, wouldn't it? Murder chamber. This area is reached up a 15-foot flight of stairs. There. Shown again there. From the main passage, an overpowering smell of alcohol almost masks the animal reek in the swelteringly hot, low chamber, lit by glowing fires underneath cauldrons of heated oil. Passed out on the floor or propped up against walls or barrels and surrounded by spilled spirits are a number of beast folk. You see that there are means to pour out the contents of the 2 cauldrons into narrow stone channels in the floor that run a few feet before ending in holes that you surmise lead down into the wide entrance passage. You dread to think what would have happened if you had been underneath a deluge of burning oil as well as being fired upon by crossbow bolts. These drunk guards were clearly shirking their duty. The 5 guards stationed here will not wake on hearing any noise in areas K9, K10 or K11. Only combat or loud noise in this room will wake them. They were feeling rebellious and bereft after the demise of their leader, Karg, at the hands of Nemo, who they believed turned him into a piglet. Unfortunately, during the attack on Grimbone, many beast folk raided the towers. A new paragraph there. Many beast folk raided the tower's cellars and came back with quantities of strong alcohol as well as with the townsfolk they were supposed to abduct. Alcohol was a completely new experience for them, and they took to it with gusto. They rolled perception for initiative at -4 and are clumsy too. Unlike other boar folk, whose strong sense of honour means they fight to the death, they will surrender and will tell of their part in the raid, and especially of the details of the demise of their leader at the hands of Nemo, the almighty wizard. Drunken. And here they are. And we'll paste them there. How many are here? 5. And we'll put them here. Like that. And see if we can select them all and make them clumsy too. Okay, clumsy 4. So I should have selected them all, and then right-clicked one of them, and click clumsy 1 twice to get clumsy 2. Clumsy 2, clumsy 2, clumsy 2, clumsy 2, clumsy 2. So it should be a much easier fight than the crossbowman. If the boiling oil were to be poured through the murder holes and lit with a torch from the sconce, so conveniently I've done a torch actor there, and so you can drag the torch into your inventory or just say you're using it. The resulting inferno would deal 3d8 fire damage. Yep. To those in the murder hole, 5 foot square, and all 8 surrounding squares, with a DC 20 basic reflex save. That looks right. And 2 persistent fire damage on a failed save or critically failed save. Looks right. So pick a victim. Well, it looks like it's affected her. Yep. Clever PCs might actually turn the tables and set off the trap against the beast folk by luring them from the barracks or refectory to the entrance passage and having some of the party stationed here. That's that area done. And then it's the refectory here. If the oil barrel was not dropped into the chimney at K7A, remember the chimney outside the entrance tower, there, which I've actually partially covered, so there's a crack. So I can make it hidden to reveal the thing. Anyway, back to our area. Well, that leads to here. See, relative direction and distance from the tower. Loud shouts of arguing and merriment, if the barrel wasn't dropped, will be heard from the passage just south of the closed but not locked iron doors. In this situation, read the following when the doors are opened. You see a crowd of boar folk in this dining hall of sorts, behaving as you might expect boar folk to behave, grunting, snorting, pushing, shouting, gobbling up food with their snouts in their bowls, and drinking beer with half of it spilling down their bristly chins. They are far too busy to notice any adventurers quietly opening the door and coming to spoil dinner. The boar folk have shut the door to prevent being caught making a noise by the bull folk, or Nemo, and are oblivious to anything that happens outside the room. They roll perception up -2 for initiative. And as well as the boar folk, we have a lieutenant. So we'll create a lieutenant. What level is the orc commander? Creature 2. I'm wanting level 4. Let's use this one as a base. Boar folk lieutenant. Same kind of frame. Change his name. And then change his stats slightly. So he's wielding what looks like a... let's make it a great sword. And he'll shun bows and things. And we give him breastplate. Doesn't need arrows. So he's got his fist and his great sword. Don't think rampaging strike works. see if I can think of a good feat for him to have. It won't be a moment. Yeah, so I chose Slam Down, 4th level fighter feat, and if he spends 2 actions, if he makes an attack and if he hits on his second action, he can, well, as part of the 2 actions, at the same attack bonus, he can attempt an athletics check to trip the creature he hit. So I had edited this and this to do automatically athletics, defense, reflex, name, trip. So this means that we can do it automatically. That's the Borefoot Lieutenant. So we'll put him in the creatures. And we can test out that ability. He's beating up on one of his men. Select him. Target the enemy. He's doing a slam down. Rolls athletics. Gets a 2, not very good. And his athletics check is at +12, and against the warrior's DC of 17, it's a failure by 3. So a nice way of automatically doing that athletics combat action. So we have some warriors and a lieutenant. Maybe make it 4 of them to the lieutenant. If the PCs are only level 4, lieutenant is equal level, so that would be 40 XPs, and then the warriors would be maybe 10 each, making an average fight. And they may be there. And all hidden for the moment. So now we have, if the oil barrel was dropped down the chimney, there's a deathly silence here. Click the macro to change the scene to one of burnt ruin. And the macro is here. It's burnt refectory. So if the burning occurred, what we do is click this macro, and you can't see it much as a GM, but it shuts down that sound, creates a sound of fire, makes these fire things visible, makes that fire invisible, and I've overlaid a tile here. So in the tiles layer, you can see the tile there. It converts it from, it when I had created the JPG of the background, I did another JPG altering this area so that the benches are crooked, put stains and scorch marks on the walls and floor, and removed the spit that was on there. And so when I click the macro, it makes the tile visible over the previous one, and when I click it again, it takes it back. So you can see it becoming a bit blurry. Some of the drinks have been spilled and they're over there. So the players would see a completely different scene. Oops. Probably do a heading. After oil barrel explosion and before oil barrel explosion. Make it easier to GM that way. Right, that's much nicer. You enter a scene of utter carnage. Blackened, scorched and smoking tables and benches line the chamber, along with several charred and smoking humanoid corpses. So you could all give them the death effect, couldn't you? Put dead at that. So they all start off dead and they can be looted if relevant. I won't do that for now. Minus dead. Soot coats walls, floors and ceiling. A giant iron cauldron serving as a fire pit lies cracked open and still glowing with heat, its contents burnt away. There were no signs of life. The Boerfoot lieutenant, or his charred body, has a key that opens the door from area K9 and the portcullis at K17. So the key is that door there, and the portcullis there. So we better put a key on him, hadn't we? Do we have any keys already? Do a key on here. Better to create a new one, I think. Let's just look at where the image comes from. Systems, equipment, held items. So we'll have a look there. Name. Portcullis key. Type, it's a equipment. And set that image. Copper key. don't need that anymore. And we'll add the key to the Borefolk Lieutenant. Yep. And that's it for that area. Now the kitchen. If the oil was dropped on the fire pit, this place is a mess as well. Here. With scorched walls and floor, and the cook is cowering in a corner, though shielded from most of the damage by the intervening wall. If the oil was not dropped, but there was a combat, the cook is similarly cowering away from the fighting. The kitchen has a long table against the far wall with a shelf above, full of ingredients, vegetables, grains, and joints of meat. Much of the produce was stolen from Grimbone during the main raid, or smaller scale raids of the odd caravan between Grimbone and Pendaka before that time. We'll do a heading here. The cook is Gan, a half-orc kidnapped from Grimbone. The Borefolk recognised the kinship between them and had him cook for them, since that was what he did as a lowly servant in Grimbone, instead of working in the mines like the other kidnapped townsfolk. Gan feels he is treated no worse here than he was in town. He tends to excuse the Borefolk's behaviour with expressions like, "The lads was only having fun," and "someone sure spoilt the party." He is reluctant to be rescued, repeatedly asking if the PCs are sure there are no beast folk remaining who would see him escaping and betraying them. He hasn't worked out that the dog folk would be somewhat less friendly than the boar folk, however loyal he might be. So you can have a role-playing encounter with this half-orc cook who doesn't really want to be rescued, and let's just do a token for him. Okay, through the magic of YouTube, I should have a token now. I'll adapt a Borefolk warrior. And the human trait as well. And I'll change this. There he is. do. And we'll put him here as well. Okay, then we have a storeroom. This room here. The storeroom contains sacks of grain, barrels of beer, salted meat and apples, and crates of ironware and utensils. Inside a crate is a dirty object, which is actually a brass scepter with a gem head worth 20 gold pieces, and in another, its value missed by the beast folk is a moderate frost vial. So we'll do the treasure item here. So around something that looks like a crate, we'll create something from scratch. What have we got here? A barrel. Looks like I need a crate. Hang on a minute. I should now have a crate. And create a crate. Create a token. Well, we've got that. We'll use that standard wooden one. Prototype token, let's make it smaller. Yep. Now, a brass scepter with a gem head, so we'll add a treasure. Valued at 20 gold piece. And a moderate frost vial. that's that done. Now we have the Boerfolk barracks. The Boerfolk here ignore any amount of noise outside as they are off duty. Behind the closed doors they will not have had combat in areas K11, K13 or an oil explosion in K13. When the door is opened, read the following. You enter a long room that clearly serves as a barracks, complete with beastfolk soldiers sleeping, gaming or lounging around. The place is in a mess, with the Boerfolk spreading their bedding around randomly, as if they simply flopped down wherever the urge to rest first took them. Bits of half-eaten food and spilled drink are strewn around. There is a strong farmyard odour about the place. The Boerfolk are slow to react, -2 perception for initiative, but will fight any intruders on sight, giving no quarter and expecting none. Got Boerfolk warriors there. I think we'll have maybe 6 of them. After the combat. The total treasure in this room, spread among the Boerfolk's belongings, is 275 copper pieces and 27 gold pieces. So we'll create an actor of treasure. And we'll just put it in a loot bag. So there was 275 copper and 27 gold. So silver is worthless because there's so much of it, it's been devalued. Okay. At the far end of the barracks are 2 wooden wardrobes. So do a heading with this, because they're important. Inside these are a large number of headdresses, similarly made to look like devil's heads. There are small holes for eyes, so this is what the Boer folk have been using to disguise themselves as devils. And then we do our XP award. If the party are now clear, they have proof that it was in fact the beast folk dressed as devils who conducted the raid on Grimbone. Award the party TXP each. Okay. And now the portcullis. Here. A portcullis bars the way at this point. It is poorly made, of recent construction but functional. The passage continues beyond with a wide doorway in the east wall. About 40 feet on the other side of the portcullis the passage turns east. The portcullis was constructed on Nemo's orders to separate the Boer folk from the dog folk on this floor. There were too many fights between the rival tribes. Only lieutenants have keys, and the only lieutenant on this floor was the Boer folk in the refectory K13. We did his key. The dog folk in K18 will hear combat in and around K16 there, and will come to investigate, but will be stopped by the portcullis. They don't send anyone for help, but listen to the show and taunt the PCs from the other side of the portcullis. They are not in the least concerned about what happens to their Boer folk brethren, inverted commas, but are keen to test their mettle against more of these weak humans, like those they faced in Grimbone. If the PCs try and break the portcullis or pick the lock, the dog folk poke their weapons through the bars. Creatures can melee each other through the bars or those interacting with the portcullis, but creatures on either side receive a greater cover bonus to AC. The same applies to range attacks. Area of effect spells can be directed through the bars or beyond the bars without penalty. If the PCs are focusing on ranged attacks or are winning a melee battle, the dogfolk repeat 10 feet and use their javelins, taunting the PCs to get the portcullis open. Nice heading there. And so we need stats for the dog folk. So we're going to base them on nulls, which we call colos. Creature 2, that seems perfect. Put it in the creatures. Don't give him the colo trait, I don't think. Right. Find the token. There he is. Just so I can see the shield. We done a comment on languages that some of them speak Common, some of them only speak Thessalonian. Right, so we don't have a battle axe. Give them a Greek style breastplate. Nope. And a morning star. And javelins. And a shield. And we want a raise shield action, really, don't we? Here we go, raise a shield. Seems fine. how many should there be? That's going to be a bit tougher if there's 6 of them. And we'll initially have them around here. One to 6. So these will move up to the portcullis if they hear fighting there. Doing the portcullis, force open DC 30. But the lock can be smashed to open the portcullis rather than breaking the whole portcullis. The lock is of cold iron, AC 17, hardness 9, hit point 36, break threshold 18, object immunities. So that could be done manually, I guess, or if the GM really wants to, they can create a some kind of dummy actor, like a dummy NPC with those stats. If they are losing a ranged battle or run out of javelins, the dogfolk retreat back into K18, that area there, still taunting the PCs from round the corner, hoping they can use their numbers to greater advantage in melee against these weaklings. And then organise defence. If the PCs retreat for more than 10 minutes, the disappointed dogfolk saunter downstairs for reinforcements. Nemo will be alerted, and a defence will be planned that will sorely press the PCs. For example, they will man areas K11 and K12 properly, that one and that one. If the PCs leave the chambers entirely, or open the portcullis and set up a defence of K19 there, with the bullfolk from K19 and the 5 bullfolk from K35 that's done in the lower chambers, charging the vanguard round the corner north to K17. So they maybe charge round there when the pieces are detected coming down there after a rest. So that's the portcullis. And then it's the dogfolk barracks now. In contrast to the barracks to the north, this one is a neat affair. There are 2 rows of bedding along the sides and 3 large round tables under chandeliers, upon which are scattered gaming dice and small amounts of coins. There are 2 wooden wardrobes at the far end of the large room. The dog folk stationed here may be encountered at the portcullis, K17, if there was significant noise made in the other barracks. If they were forced to retreat by ranged attacks, they will be here round the corners or behind overturned tables. There is an open-top barrel with 25 more javelins that the dog folk may use. The wardrobes contain devil disguises like the wardrobes in the boar folk barracks. The total treasure in this room, spread among the dog folk's belongings, is 326 copper pieces and 54 gold pieces. So we'll do a barrel of javelins. And we'll tokenize it. Prototype it. And inside will be javelins. Make it visible, I think. We've got treasure. Which is 326 copper pieces. Let's get rid of it. Insufficient coins. We have to remove the exact amount and then add it again. Oh, here we go. We can just change this. the dog folks' treasure. And then final room, we'll be finishing here. Final area, stair and guard. Even if there is combat at K17 or 18, the guard here remains asleep. Only if the PCs retreat and return will this guard be woken, and in that circumstance he will be waiting with a vanguard of bullfolk, ready to charge any PCs who come round the corner. That's what I was mentioning in prepared defence. You turn the corner and see in the torchlight some distance away a very large humanoid slouched on a heavy chair that creaks under the creature's weight. The humanoid has a bull's head with sharp curved horns. It appears to be sound asleep, a spilled over earthenware jug by its side. You can hear its stentorian snores reverberating up the passage. The creature faces a narrow opening in the passage to the south, while the main passage ends a short distance further on in a collapsed pile of masonry. The boss bullfolk stationed here gets to choose his duties, because might is right. And he invariably chooses to get drunk at this guard post. His task is mainly to check there are no escaped prisoners coming up this way, the only exit to the surface from the mines or slave pens. As an opponent, he is a formidable adversary. As a guard, he is totally useless. So we'll find a Minotaur. Creature 4 probably isn't good enough. Not much selection of Minotaurs. Oh, we'll just adapt it ourselves then. So you want to level them up to level 6. Put the AC up by 4. Hit points up to 100, I think. Perception 16. Put those up a bit. Speaks Thessalonian. And the attacks. Put 18, I'd put 17, I think. Okay. We'll put him in creatures. Bullfolk boss. Choose this one. So you could say he's size large, how can he sit on that chair? Well, maybe he's slouching, and how can he squeeze past there? Well, if something is size large, I think it can squeeze around a 5 foot wide corridor, same as if a medium human can actually squeeze through a 2.5 foot corridor, but they probably can't fight there. Seems to be wounded. Not anymore. Well, we put him in. And what else do we have here? Right, let's put him in there. And we'll have another section. So we'll have a section on sneaking past the bullfolk, because sometimes people need to think twice when they do the sneaking rules. So the active party when sneaking is the PCs here, and the passive party is the bullfolk boss who's sleeping. So it would be the PCs making a stealth check to sneak versus the bullfolk's perception DC. So we'll look at him there. And his perception is plus 16, but I think because he's drunk and asleep, we'll give him a penalty to make it plus 10, so it's DC 20. See if that works. Yeah. Aid and follow the leader and quiet allies will all be helpful here. The boss will take an action to stand up, to awaken, to stand up. One to grab his great axe. One to stand up. On his next turn, I think he'd do demoralize. Let's see what abilities he's got. He's hunting fear, won't he? Oh, they can hear the Minotaur but not see them. Okay, next turn he will attempt to demoralize the nearest opponent, and then the seems like the PC is already going to be melee range by the time he gets his powerful charge, doesn't it? Then an axe swipe. Are close. And does he have reach? Yeah. Or a charge if they are far away. He fights to the death. After the fight, the boss bullfolk has gold armbands worth 100 gold pieces each. He has no other treasure. Should we do C to pickpocket the arm is DC-26 to pickpocket the armbands. Harder than sneaking past. And we'll let's look up something with braces. Icons equipment wrist and in core data. Surely there must be a gold one somewhere. There we are. And 200 for the pair. The narrow passage leads straight to a downward spiral staircase to the lower chambers. Faint noises, shouts and screams can be heard echoing up from the depths. And then we'll copy the story XP from elsewhere. Award the piece party 80 XPs. So that's a whole level done in one session. We need to label. Go to Swamp where hopefully I've done labels. Did I forget? I forgot. Right, where did we have labels? The cultist scripts. Select it. Copy it. Underground chambers. Well, let's do the swamp. Oh, K1, I've done the swamp. First swamp. Let's copy this one then. and then I think it was the first signpost next. This will be K2. And then I think it's going to be down here. Mummy Detour. K3. And then the mud creatures. K4. Check we're getting right on the journal. Yep. And then the next one is probably here. Petrifying layer. K5. Probably it's these next. Total cards would be K6. And here. K7. And that's that. K8. Shooting range. Shooting gallery. I change the size of these, don't I? 200, I think. Okay, 10. Murder chamber. Should be K12. Still right, refectory next. Okay, 13 and the kitchen. Okay, 14 and the storeroom. Okay, 15 and then the 4-foot barracks. Okay, 16, the portcullis. Okay, 17, the dogfoot barracks. Okay, 18 and here. Okay, 19. That's done. It was quite a busy session, and I've had enough. Thanks very much for your attention. Bye.